Okay, so in last lecture we had seen the measurement of attenuation for fiber optics. Okay, and how that technique gave us the attenuation, and that was the precise attenuation of a fiber. Now today we will be seeing the method of measuring the dispersion of a fiber optics, and then if time permits, I'll just brief you about the working of OTDR. Okay, so OTDR is the device. So we are going to see two methods, method for measurement of attenuation and method for measurement of dispersion. Now those are typically related to the lab setup, research lab, but in field we cannot use those techniques to measure attenuation or dispersion. So in the field I have to necessarily use the device that is OTDR. So any company who is dealing with fiber optics, laying down fiber optics, transmission through fiber optics, they cannot work without the device that is called as OTDR. So here we are not studying that much in detail, only the function of OTDR and how it is working. Unfortunately, we are not able to see the demonstration because I used to call a person who used to demonstrate that the splicing. He used to bring the OTDR and the splicing machine, and we used to see how actually the measurement. He used to bring a spool of fiber around 2 or 4 kilometers, and then he used to demonstrate the measurement. He used to cut the fiber, he used to bend the fiber, and he used to display all the readings on the OTDR. But at least I'll show you some video to replace that demonstration. So the learning outcome of today's lecture will be, you will understand how dispersion or pulse broadening can be measured by using two methods. Either you can use an oscilloscope, a simple oscilloscope, or a spectrum analyzer. Now when I say oscilloscope, remember your normal lab oscilloscope will not work because the fiber frequency is much high. Okay, so we should have an oscilloscope which is able to measure very high frequency. Or in place of an oscilloscope, I can go with a spectrum analyzer. And once I finish this, if time permits, we will understand the concept of OTDR. Okay, so the diagram, before you actually go to the measurement setup. So what is dispersion? Can anybody say? Or distortion? We have finished the whole chapter on it, and types of dispersion also. So what is actually dispersion? If anybody wants to say something. What is dispersion? If somebody asks you, I am going to give you now the setup of measuring a dispersion. Now, but what is dispersion? Anybody? Your answer can be as simple as one word answer also.
Pulse broadening.
Pulse broadening. Yes, this is the exact word, pulse broadening. If I have an input pulse, okay, an input pulse, if it is traveling through the fiber optic cable, okay, at the receiver end, what happens is the pulse has broadened. Okay, here you can see the pulse broadening has taken place. Now, if I am measuring, in case of attenuation, what I was doing is I was measuring the input power and the output power. And in case of attenuation, what happened was the output power level, the peak power level decreased. Okay, but when I talk about dispersion, what happened is this pulse has broadened. But if I'm measuring the average power of the output waveform and the average power of the input waveform, there is no reduction in the average power. Okay, if there is no attenuation, if I'm just considering only dispersion, there is no decrease in the average power. The average power will remain the same, but the pulse width has increased, it has broadened. So dispersion is also called as distortion or pulse broadening. All three are one and the same thing. Now, if this pulse broadening takes place, means the shape of the transmitted pulse has changed. So there are chances of overlapping of adjacent pulse. So this dispersion or this pulse spreading will increase with length. Okay, and what happens is overlapping adjacent channel, not adjacent channel, ISI will be present, okay, in the digital pulse stream, and my information will be not correct. Okay, so this dispersion is actually limits the information carrying capacity of the fiber, and we cannot let it happen. So whenever the fiber is manufactured in the lab itself, they need to check for attenuation. They need to check for dispersion before they release the batch of fiber into the market. Okay, so this was something about your dispersion. So this dispersion effects may be characterized by, so how do I now measure dispersion? So I can take measurement of the impulse response of the fiber either in the time domain, or I can measure it in the frequency domain. Okay, now when I'm doing this measurement, one thing we need to keep in mind is we are considering the fiber response as linear with regards to the power. Okay, so we can, otherwise if we don't take this assumption, then again those linearity problems and all we need to take care. So when I'm doing the measurement of the pulse width in the time domain or in the frequency domain, okay, so I consider that, or I assume that the fiber response is linear. So with this introduction of dispersion measurement, this is your setup. You should not be shocked with this setup because already attenuation measurement we have done. So it was almost little bit similar. So what we have a length of fiber, and I have the input light source. Okay, so I have to send that light through the fiber. Okay, now when I'm sending the light through the fiber, I require some launch condition. Okay, directly I cannot launch into the fiber, but here you might see the circuitry at this part is little bit less complicated compared to the attenuation measurement. In attenuation measurement, we had more number of blocks because we were interested in the power level. So in no way we wanted any excess or extra signal to pass into the core of the fiber. Now here in dispersion, we are not doing all this. So here, if I just want, I'll show you, if you have forgotten the block diagram, I'll just go back and I'll show you. This was the diagram for the measurement of attenuation. So here we had a light source, we had a chopper, monochromator, viewing optics, mode scrambler, cladding mode stripper. Now here we don't have mode scrambler or cladding mode stripper. This was there in attenuation measurement because we wanted that no light should enter the cladding. Otherwise what happens, that power is considered. Okay, so here now we are not interested in the measurement of the power level, we are interested in the measurement of width. So these two things are not present in the block diagram. Again, as I have said earlier, these are the diagrams from the book of senior. Okay, so we have these source, that is the laser. Then we have this arrangement, the beam splitter. So why this beam splitter is there? Same reason. Here I take a reference signal and I give it to these. Here I have considered an oscilloscope. So this is my input signal. So this beam splitter, it is just a mirror kept at 45-degree angle here. So the same light here, you can split it into three. One continues the journey towards the fiber. One, it is given as a reference signal to the oscilloscope so that I know what is the input pulse width. And if you want to view anything, you can keep your viewing optics over here and you can take one beam from this part and you can see whatever you want to see, some decisions you want, what wavelength you want to monitor. So in the viewing optics, you can decide all that. Okay, so this variable diaphragm will select the particular wavelength of light at which you want to transmit. And then through this optics, the light is launched into the fiber. So here those mode scrambler, cladding mode stripper, all are not there. So now the light enters through the fiber. Okay, light comes out through the fiber. So here I have again the light signal. So I require an avalanche diode. So avalanche diode will convert the light back to an electrical signal, and that electrical signal I give it to the sampling oscilloscope. So this measurement, this scenario of measurement is simple. So what actually we are considering is, as this fiber is suppose around 1 kilometer. So as the pulses travel down the fiber length, they are broadened due to various dispersion mechanism. We have seen all the categories of dispersion mechanism. So pulse broadening has happened. And when I compare the input pulse width in one channel of the oscilloscope and I see on the second channel, the output signal, okay, I can make out that the pulse has broadened with respect to time. So the pulse are received at the receiver in a high speed photodetector. So usually we go for avalanche photodiode. Okay. And we note down the change in the pulse width. So here this is about the beam splitter. A beam splitter is utilized for triggering the oscilloscope and for input pulse measurement. Now this, can anybody tell, this measurement will give me, this is what kind of measurement? Time domain measurement or frequency domain measurement if I'm using an oscilloscope?
Time domain.
Time domain, yes. In your CRO, if you might have not used for couple of years, 1.5 years almost. So CRO gives measurement in the time domain. Okay, so I note down the input pulse width, I note down the output pulse width. Okay, and then I see how the pulse has broadened. So this is one set of measurement. Then again, what I do is this 1 kilometer fiber I have taken, then I'll cut down the fiber. This is also a destructive technique like the attenuation measurement. So then again, I cut down the fiber by around 1% of the fiber length. Okay, so I have 1 kilometer. So 1 kilometer ka 1% I will take, and again I will cut down the fiber by that 1% amount. And again, keeping this remaining setup as same, again I will take the second set of reading. Okay, and then I will again find out the pulse broadening. So there are some formulas which I'll give you after 2-3 slides. So this is also a destructive technique like your attenuation measurement. So first I take the original length of the fiber and I note down the input and output pulse width. Then what I do, I cut the fiber by around 1% of that measured distance compared with the original one. And again, I take the second set of reading, keeping all the initial conditions at the input and output as same. And I just note down the output pulse width. Okay, so, and then I will find out the pulse broadening with the formula, which I will give you just now. Okay, so after the initial measurement of output pulse width, the long fiber length may be cut back to a short length and the measurement is repeated to obtain the effective input pulse width. The fiber is generally cut back to lesser of 10 meter or 1% of its original length. Okay, the fiber dispersion is obtained from the two pulse width measurements which are taken at any convenient fraction of their amplitude. So students, I expect you to write down this formula. Now, see, when I talk of the input pulse width, so we have seen that the input can be either a Gaussian shaped pulse or a digital pulse. Okay, so if my input is a Gaussian shaped pulse, my output is also a Gaussian shape. So if Pi and P02 are assumed to have a Gaussian shape, numericals are asked based on this formula. So it is important for you to write down the formula. So tau 0 square is equal to tau square plus tau I square, where tau I, tau 0 are the 3 dB pulse width at the fiber input and output respectively. And what is tau? Tau is the width of the fiber impulse response measured at half the maximum amplitude. So actually we are measuring this 3 width: input pulse width, output pulse width, and measured, and the width of the fiber impulse response again measured at half the maximum amplitude. So please write down this particular formula. So the pulse dispersion formula is given by, or pulse broadening. See, this is a completely different formula to the one which we derived. In our derivation, we had considered the aspects of all fibers, parameters of fiber, the radius, cutoff wavelength. Yes, sure, yes.
This maximum amplitude is power or voltage?
Power. Okay, so tau of 3 dB is given by, so this is actually the formula to calculate. And remember, this is a total different formula, because this formula came from this measurement setup. The earlier numericals which we had done was based on the fiber parameter, the core radius, cutoff wavelength, okay, the refractive index profile, matlab delta. Either they give you the core refractive index, or they give you delta, or they give you the cladding refractive index. So it was based on the fiber parameters. This formula for pulse broadening is strictly based on the pulse width that we have measured and what is the length of the fiber. Okay. So all the taus, whether it is tau, tau I and tau 0, are measured in nanosecond, and your length is measured in kilometers. So this is a simplest formula. Please see, it is a square root of tau 0 square minus tau I square. And the unit is nanosecond per kilometer. So please write down this formula. Once you're finished, just somebody say yes. Is it done? Ajita?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now, see, I now know what is the pulse broadening, but why we are interested in measuring dispersion? Okay, वो measure करके हमें क्या मिलेगा? Okay, so see, when I am talking of any transmission system, the capacity, transmission capacity of that system is important. Okay, so the dispersion effect or the dispersion loss, it limits the transmission capacity. That is what we have seen in the introductory slide. Okay, so I need to know what is the bandwidth after this dispersion loss took place and all, what is actually the effective, or you can say the optical bandwidth of this particular system. So the optical bandwidth is given by, this is a fixed empirical formula, no derivation is there. So you have to remember that. So 3 dB optical bandwidth, if I'm calling it as BOPT, so BOPT into tau, the pulse broadening, okay, in 3 dB is given as 0.44 gigahertz nanosecond or 0.44 megahertz picosecond. Okay, so this is a standard formula. Okay, they have given empirical formula. So now if you know what is your pulse broadening after that measurement that you have done, so you can find out what is actually the optical bandwidth of your that particular batch of fiber. And this is what we actually want. What is the capacity of your system? So to know the capacity of your system, I should know कि मेरा pulse कितना broad हो रहा है, how much there is a delay if the pulse is traveling. And remember the length aspect also we have taken, because we have seen that with increase in length, both attenuation loss as well as dispersion loss, they increase. Okay, so this formula directly does not reflect L, but yes, that L is also present in tau. So once I am able to calculate tau by knowing the input and output pulse width, I can calculate the optical bandwidth of the particular fiber which I have just manufactured. So once you know that, then the vendors can prepare the specification, the data sheet, and then they can release it into the market. So I know what is the attenuation, I know what is the dispersion, I know what is the now the capacity for the fiber. So then the vendors will buy. Other parameters obviously will be there in the data sheet, like the numerical aperture, the radius, what is the refractive index of the core, cladding, or they can give you delta. Okay, so all those other aspects also will be there. Another important aspect is they will definitely tell you at what wavelength. Usually the first optical window we don't transmit, we transmit it at the second or the third optical window. So either 1330 nanometer or 1550 nanometer. Okay, so 1550 nanometer agar wavelength division multiplexing use kar rahe, so I need to transmit at 1550 nanometers. So all commercial fibers which you see, it is laid around your entire city, they are operating at 1550 nanometer because हमें वहाँ पे multiplexing use करना ही पड़ता है. Okay, in a smaller area we usually don't require multiplexing, but yes, when I'm sending or transmitting it across the city, across countries also, now we are laying it underground, so we need to do multiplexing. So 1550 nanometer is used universally. Okay, so with this I will give you one small numerical which is based on this particular formula and the previous formula. So please, I will be dictating, so you copy down that problem. Pulse dispersion measurements. Pulse dispersion measurements are taken over. Pulse dispersion measurements are taken over 1.2 kilometer length of partially graded multimode fiber. Pulse dispersion measurements are taken over a 1.2 kilometer length of partially graded multimode fiber. The 3 dB width, of optical input pulse, the 3 dB width of optical input pulse is 300 picosecond. And the corresponding 3 dB width for the output pulse, again I'm repeating, the 3 dB width of the optical input pulse is 300 picosecond, and the corresponding 3 dB width for the output pulse is found out to be 12.6 nanoseconds. Assuming the pulse shape, remember we did the, or I gave you, we didn't do actually derive, I gave you the derivation based on the fact that it is a Gaussian shaped pulse. Okay, so assuming the pulse shape and fiber impulse response are Gaussian, assuming the pulse shape and fiber impulse response are Gaussian, calculate first one. First is calculate 3 dB pulse broadening for the fiber. Calculate the 3 dB pulse broadening for the fiber in nanosecond per kilometer. This is given in the numerical. So that's why I am giving you. So you have to adjust your values or unit in nanosecond. So calculate the 3 dB pulse broadening for the fiber, and second one is the bandwidth length product. Remember, I had told you this earlier also. In any communication system, it is not only about the bandwidth. We have a parameter, okay, that is called as the BL parameter. So that is the bandwidth length product. Okay. So calculate second one, the fiber bandwidth length product. So length is already given to you in the question. You have the formula for optimum bandwidth. So before that, you have to calculate tau. So quickly do it. Yes, did you finish? Anybody? What is tau you are getting?
10.45.
10.45. Only one person got the answer. One person has to say the answer every time. Satyajit, how much you got?
Yes, ma'am, I'm solving.
Okay, solve. Anybody else? Please use your calculators, otherwise you will forget to use it. So square root of 12.6 square minus square of 0.3 square divided by L. So this gives us the answer as 10.45, or if I round it off, 10.5 nanosecond per kilometer. I have converted this picosecond. I don't think I need to explain that also, but please do it at the end. This question has been asked a couple of times. The only thing is that when you are solving those problems of actual attenuation and dispersion, you try to find out कि अरे tau out tau zero कहाँ पे है, because this is only present in the measurement technique. Okay, and if you have not read about that, then you cannot fit in this two parameters that are given in the earlier formulas. Okay, so this is only restricted to the dispersion measurement setup, where we are observing the input pulse width and the output pulse width. And remember, it is for a Gaussian shaped pulse. We don't have any other formulas if we are considering a rectangular pulse, that is RZ or NRZ. हमारे पास सिर्फ ये Gaussian का ही formula है. Okay, now did anybody calculate the optical bandwidth? Yes. Apart from Joshua, Sadanand.
No, not yet.
Yes, Joshua, your answer is right, which you have written in the chat box. Others, please do it fast. कितना टाइम लगता है तुम लोगों को? Once you have this tau, you have just this formula, this much, this particular formula, the optimum. So 0.44 megahertz divided by tau, you have to do gigahertz nanosecond, or agar liya divided by tau, so 0.44 gigahertz nanosecond divided by tau, which you just got. It's just one division. Why are you taking so much time? 0.44 divided by 10.5. इतना time लगता है. If you are using mobile, that then also you can calculate. Quickly tell me the answer. Sahil, Vineet, Saurabh, what happened? Krupakar, praise. You have mic problem?
Calculating.
Avesh? Alistus,
Calculating.
calculator. Is it done? Ajita, what is B optimum you're getting?
42.3.
42.3. Anybody else? Little bit here and there. Anybody else who has an answer? Sir, 0.44 divided by 10.5. The moment I say, it takes hardly 10 seconds to get the answer. Are you a dumb batch? 7 of you are already placed. इतना ये efficiency है, I will tell that HR to cancel your job then, all 7 of you. Do you think we are fools sitting over here? Yes, Bhavish, you were trying to say something?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tell me.
41.
Only 41?
41.9.
Yes, yes, Saurabh, yes, Ajita, 41.9. Some people are writing in the chat box, but please behave like a proper normal student, final year student. I really don't want to cover any numerical in your class. Just keep on saying or show some slide and just show and just read it out. Take attendance, you are happy. Okay, so B optimum is 41.9 megahertz kilometer. Please take care of that unit. No, megahertz only. And then what is BL? This was B optimum. What is BL? Joshua had written it long back because when moment I gave this, I had written it on the slide, 10.5 nanosecond. It takes 10 seconds to divide 0.44 by 10.5. And then now, once you know B optimum, quickly measure it by 1.2 kilometers and tell me the answer. Yes?
Oh, 50.28.
Be loud.
50.28.
So your BL is 50.28 megahertz kilometer. Okay, so please write down that unit is important. Okay, so this completes your measurement technique. Yesterday's one, last lecture is attenuation, today dispersion, 2 small methods. Again, please don't draw the block diagram from any TechMag book, from any website. The moment you do it, you will get wrong. Okay, we expect that you draw it from the book of senior because it's all those precise things are mentioned. Others in TechMag, they will give you all those plagiarized because they want to remove that plagiarism to say they will change one complete block and give you something wrong. So never go for block diagram from any such book. You can always go for solving a numerical from those books, but not a proper theory. Okay, now we have seen all those 2 block diagrams for measurement of attenuation and measurement of dispersion. So many setups were there. Okay, so when in actual field, I want to see whether there is a cut in the fiber, there is signal attenuation, if there is excessive bending of the fiber, there is a loss. Okay, so I need to measure it. So how can I do it? So the device that we have is called as the OTDR. Okay, so your OTDR full form is optical time domain reflectometry or reflectometer. Okay, so a measurement technique which is far more sophisticated and which finds wide application in both laboratory as well as field is your OTDR. Now, this word is important, on which principle OTDR is working. So it is working on this principle of backscattering. Okay. So it provides measurement of attenuation and an optical link down its entire length, giving information of the length dependencies of the link log. See, suppose this is my transmitter end, and then I have this patch of fiber. Okay, now before it goes to the receiver, and I have already discussed that when I manufacture fiber, we manufacture maximum 4 kilometer, take batch. So after 4 kilometer, I need to either splice the fiber or use a connector, mechanical splicing or fusion splicing. I need to join the fiber basically. So the moment there is a splicing or a join, there will be loss. Okay, so यहाँ पे loss होगा. When the source light is coupled into the fiber, there also there is loss. Okay, at the receiver, when the optical detector it is connected to a normal electrical connection, यहाँ पे जो connection है, so everywhere there will be some amount of loss that is incurred. Okay, so connector loss रहेगा, splicing loss रहेगा. Then if there is a bend, so what we think is it works on the principle of backscattering. Matlab, suppose there is a cut in the fiber. यहाँ पे suppose the fiber is cut. So when we are sending the light through the fiber, I'll show you the block diagram later on. So as I'm launching the light into the fiber, what happens is from that point where there is a cut or there is a bend, the light is reflected back and it comes back, okay, towards the generator end or the transmitter end. Now I will not allow it to reach the source, the laser source or whichever source I am using. So we will measure this backscattered light. Okay, so this backscattered light, I am measuring the light intensity. So there will be a photodetector which is present. Okay, so this backscattered light, it goes to the photodetector and the photodetector will give me some electrical output. Now what we will do is we will convert that electrical output, whatever, suppose you have measured some power or you have measured voltage. So that voltage we will convert in terms of length. Okay, so suppose I know that after 25 kilometer, this backscattered light I will measure, it gives me some figure and that is converted into length. So I know that after 25 kilometer, there might be a cut in the fiber because otherwise itna signal kaise degrade ho gaya. So what I will do is sitting from my office where the OTDR was there, I will travel in my vehicle and I will exactly travel 25 kilometers. Then I will dig up that particular patch. Okay. And then I will bring out the cable and then I'll try to look out for fault. Otherwise, imagine if there is a fault, I cannot dig out the entire cable. It is across the cities, connecting the entire country. Okay, so this is the wonder of the device that is called as OTDR. So the only principle that is backscattering, that light will reflect back. Okay, and I am measuring the amount of backscattered light. Okay, so in that device of OTDR, I'll just show you a video after this. So we have in the device itself a pulsed laser. So that laser will send light through the fiber, and from wherever there is reflection, backscattering, it will measure. So it will actually give you a graphical figure कि connector के पास से भी अगर light reflect होगा, splicing के वहाँ से भी light reflect होगा, cut के वहाँ से भी light reflect होगा. So you will get an entire graph. So connector splicing, we know that yes, some losses will take place. Okay, so I cannot replace that connector. That connector has to be there. That splice has to be there. But if there is a major cut, in the graphical indication on the OTDR, you will get a substantial dip. And then you can make out, okay, there is this particular loss that is taking place. So with this little bit introduction, I will, okay, so just see the second slide. OTDR allows splice and connector loss to be evaluated, as well as the rotation of any fault on the link. It relies upon the measurement and analysis of the fraction of light which is reflected. So analysis is that light length, I convert it into length. Okay, so that analysis we need to do. So which is reflected back within the fiber numerical aperture due to Rayleigh scattering. We have already studied what is Rayleigh scattering when we were studying the scattering loss. So just let me show you that video of fiber optics measurement.
Domain reflectometer, an optical test instrument used to detect light
You can hear the sound, no?
Yes, ma'am.
loss in a single fiber by injecting short laser pulses into the core and then measuring the subsequent backscatter level at all points along the fiber. Breaking down the name reveals that an OTDR conducts timed measurements of reflected light. The OTDR operates on a principle similar to radar. A pulsed laser signal is injected into the glass fiber, and the subsequent backscattered or reflected signal is timed and measured for both power and distance. Let's take a look inside the OTDR. The basic components are a transmitting laser, an optical coupler, and a receiving photodetector. The transmitter pulses light through the coupler into the core of the fiber. The detector receives and measures light returning through the coupler. If we look at individual pulses in slow motion, we can see that as the OTDR generates one pulse down the fiber core, multiple backscattered pulses are produced and travel in the opposite direction towards the detector. One main function of an OTDR is to accurately measure splice loss. It does so by measuring the backscatter levels right before and after the splice. Let's travel down a 100-kilometer fiber and see a sample of different optical events that the OTDR can detect. The first event is reflective and located right at the OTDR port. Because the OTDR is mechanically connected to the fiber under test, the connection creates an air gap, which causes a reflective dead zone where no measurement can take place. The OTDR will accurately measure the distance to a splice and the loss of power at that particular splice. All reflective events are detected and measured for reflectance, power, and distance. Finally, the far end connection is detected and measured. The OTDR is a versatile and valuable field instrument in the construction and maintenance of a fiber network.
Okay, so that was a little bit explanation, introduction of your OTDR. So we will be doing it in the form of a block diagram. So we will see that block diagram in the next class. Okay, so before that, I'll just I'll stop recording and I'll give you quiz